What's up guys, I'm Phoenix Master 1 and welcome to my Resplendent review and builds guide for Resplendent Edelgard, female Byleth and Lyon. I do have a couple of Resplendent reviews left and these were the 3 most requested ones with the ones that I missed. So I'm going to be covering each and every one of them. There isn't really anything I plan on skipping really. So Resplendent Edelgard is a book 3 unit, and for a unit that came out 5 years ago in 2020, she is still a pretty good unit because of her weapon refine. So her Victorious Axe does have Sling built in it. It does give her Omni +4 and guaranteed follow-up attack with her primary effect, and then if she initiates combat or if she's solo, then she gets another round of Omni +4, and she also gets true damage based on 10% of her attack. And this is going to be getting added into the AoE specials. As you'll see with female Byleth and Lyon in this video, they do not even have that much of true damage in their weapon. And any little bit of it does help because it does give you flexibility of running AoE specials on this Edelgard. And because of having Gale Force built in her weapon, she is going to be a pretty unique unit because a lot of the other Edelgards are armored units and they do not have access to a lot of the infantry skills. So even though this Edelgard is old, and even if she's not as insane as Valentine Edelgard or even Winter Edelgard, she is still going to be able to be a bit more unique because of her movement type. And this Gale Force in her weapon does need both of the conditions. So of course she needs to initiate combat and she also needs to be solo. And it's not really all that hard to be solo nowadays, but still, it can be annoying sometimes, and that's something you need to be careful about. And in terms of her boon, she does have a super boon, and you should be going with that. And if you're going to be ascending an asset, then defense is pretty good for doing that. And Edelgard does appreciate having any kind of refreshers because she is primarily a player phase unit with her weapon. So that's why having any kind of extra damage output with Spring Plumeria is good. Attuned Azura also gives her null follow-up. I mean, Edelgard isn't the fastest, but she is also not the slowest, especially at max investment. And she also gets the Insighted status and the extra movement, so that can help. Both versions of Dorothea can help. The regular Dorothea, even though she doesn't have any kind of preferred weapon, she can run Valentine Hubert's Devoted Cup Plus, run Deploy skills, run Firestorm Dance, and still support AD pretty good. Triandra can help you with the Sabotage status, and the harmonic version of Dorothea is available from a lot of the free summon events that we have got. So even if you just got her as a free unit, she can still be helpful with her harmonic button because that is going to be refreshing Edelgard, who's a 3 houses unit. So again, not the most insane dancer, but still they do have the things that can benefit her. Now, when you're going to be nuking with her, you do need to stack up any kind of exposure status that you can try and get, so Lucina can be helpful. And if you're trying to get another extra hit, then Legendary Ira is helpful with her potent status. And keep in mind that the treachery status, which Rearm Lucina and Young Elise can give, does get added into the AoE special. It doesn't matter if the enemy has got any kind of dull effect or lull effect, they cannot stop the damage output on the AoE special that comes from treachery. So it's going to be a good tool if you run that kind of build on her. And Realm Lucina can also run a detect skill or a snack skill, so those debuffs in middle of the turn are useful. And Legendary Sakura can give the Kanto effect to Edelgard, so if you're not able to run Brutal Tempest or any kind of other Kanto support, then at least Sakura is able to give that. And there's also the Future Witness status of Duo Lucina, which she's able to use for the Kanto effect. And then as for the tech options, you do get the extra action out of Duo Hathrin, and she also gives you the charge effect, so that can be helpful even though, that kind of warping is going to be getting blocked by any kind of lower ground, higher ground type of unit. And then Desert Marissa can give you the brave attacks, so here she is not really Summer Edelgard, so getting the brave attacks is going to be requiring Erika Ring. And if you're not able to run that, then she could be a tech option. Brave Female Robin can be helpful with her Hush Spectrum, and she can also be helpful in terms of giving you the Kanto as a status for retreating. So again, if you do not run any of those Kanto skills, then she could be used. And Original Lilith is going to be a bit odd here, but she's actually going to be hitting like a truck, and she can be helpful with the extra action playstyle of Edelgard. And the thing with Lilith is that she's got the 2-space warping with her support partner, so she can be away from Edelgard and then enable Edelgard to warp with her flying skills like Soaring Echo or, Soaring Guidance, whatever you run. And Summer Ingrid basically has a boosted Rain Snap in her Refine, so she can give the extra movement to Edelgard, and she also gives out the Canto 1 status and the Special Charges status. So all of those effects are really helpful for Edelgard, and you could use any kind of Rain Snap support flyer, but Ingrid does give more things other than just the +1 movement that Rain Snap gives you. Edelgard can run a bit of a modern build using the fodder in Divine Code 6 with Ninja Diamant, so you can give all of these skills from him to her, and Boulder does help because it does give you the damage reduction, which is unpierceable, so that's why the stacking up of the defense is helpful. And then the Spiked Wall skill does give you the Null Guard effect, which is really good, and it also gives you true damage on every single hit depending on her higher defense or resistance. So here it is going to be scaling off of the defense, and that kind of thing is actually pretty nice now with Emblem Erica Ring that you could run with this build. Endless Tempest also comes with it, and it does give her the extra movement. It unfortunately does not have the Canto like Brutal Tempest, but this is something you could at least try and have, and also have the Dull effect out of it. And the finish skill is going to be giving you the true damage and also the healing. And then if you're trying to upgrade her a bit more by just using some of the Divine Codes fodder and also by using Odor Master 1, then you can give her Attack Defense Excel, and then Haste Slice could also be given to her. Time Pulse 4 can be given to her from many of the units, and this way she is able to have the damage reduction piercing with Tempo Echo. She also has even more flat damage reduction with the Excel skill, and Haste Slice does give her the Preempt Pulse, and it does front load her damage output. So if you're not trying to run any kind of Endless Tempest in the slot, say, and if you want to run the Cigarette Ring for the movement and the Canto, then that could be done. And Tempo Echo does overlap a bit with the Spiked Wall with its Null Guard, but it still gives you the passive damage reduction piercing, which in my opinion is really helpful, and it also stops any kind of special charging skills of the enemies. And Haste Slice does scale off her attack stat, which isn't the worst. And then you could also try and run a bit more of a max investment build, which is going to be requiring Emblem, Sigurd, Sacrifice, so Attack Defense Excel and Momentum. Both are really good, and then Brutal Tempest is not only going to be giving you the extra movement, but it also compresses the Canto within it, and that's a really good Canto. And then you're just going to be having the flexibility of running either the Emblem Erica Ring or having the Warping with Emblem Celica Ring. So this is going to be the best build that you could make for her right now. And Haste Slice does seem a bit odd, but the thing is that its Preempt Pulse does stack up with Momentum, and even if you're facing any kind of enemy with a Scowl effect, then you're still going to be able to trigger your Haste Slice, so it can be helpful in that regard. And the thing with Haste Slice is that it doesn't have a defense check like Boulder, so it's always going to be giving you that unpierceable damage reduction in the player phase, which is good to have for the peace of mind in my opinion. And then you could try and run a bit more of an offensive build with an extra action of Gale Force. Nowadays, running Gale Force is not really needed with a lot of the modern units who get the extra actions like Valentine Edelgard, for example. So you would need to supplement her damage output with the true damage of Slice 30 Blow, and you also get Assault Rush at the same time. I don't think it's as good as Brutal Tempest, obviously because it doesn't have the Canto built in it. But again, if you do not have access to an extra legendary Ira, then it is certainly an option that comes with the Slice 30 Blow skill. And then Spiked Wall is just really good for its Null Guard and also its true damage, which is going to be nice with the Emblem Erica Ring. And running partners who can give you the extra damage output, the middle of the turn debuff with exposure status is going to be helpful. And you can also run an AoE build with her, so this is one of the more popular ways of using the original Edelgard, because she does get the true damage out of her weapon into the AoE special. And while we do have a lot of counters to the AoE nuking nowadays, it is still, again, one of the options that a lot of the other Edelgards cannot really do all that easily because they do not have access to Momentum. So Momentum is going to be helping you trigger the AoE special with its AoE Preempt Pulse, and you also can stack up the visible defense with Solid Ground, Slice 30 Blow, and true damage does get added into the AoE special, so that's why it is a pretty good skill to have. And then finally, if you want to make her with the Arcane Giant Axe, then that is the option. Of course, you're going to be losing the extra action out of her weapon, but if you want to have some flat damage reduction on her, then this is an alternate build option that you could try and take up. So this is more of a mixed phase option because Boulder and Spiked Wall, Arcane Giant Axe, all are going to be helping you get the unpierceable damage reduction, and then you get even more of it with the Excel skill. You have the usual counter and extra movement out of Brutal Tempest, and Arcane Giant Axe does give you a bit more true damage because of having 15% scaling compared to her preferred weapon, which only has 10% scaling, and it also has the cleansing on the debuffs of attack and defense and also against the panic. So it's pretty much like the defense version of Crystalline Water built in, which does help as attack and defense are her main stats. Resplendent female Byleth is also a book 3 unit just like Edelgard, and she does have Creator Sword as her preferred weapon, and it did have a pretty good refine for that time because we didn't have that many piercing skills or support, and because her refine already had a lot of the good things, it was pretty easy to build up upon. So it does have the slaying effect, it has got the full null follow-up, the full tempo, and it also gives her Omni plus 8 in terms of the stats. Unfortunately, she does have the pierceable 30% damage reduction, but still I do like it because it does give you the full damage reduction piercing on your offensive special triggers. And that's why it's recommended to run Gust on her because she does have a speed super boon, and ideally you should be stacking up her speed at higher investment, and you also get the damage reduction out of it, which is going to be unpierceable unlike her weapon, and you also fully pierce the damage reduction of the enemy without really requiring any kind of piercing skill. So it does help the flexibility, and even though Creator Sword is nothing really too insane in the modern times, still it does have a couple of good effects that you would always appreciate on a unit like this. And when it comes to the team building, you mainly want to stat stack on her because she is an old sword infantry unit, and that's a pretty competitive class type. So any kind of bonus doubler stacking is going to be helping you, but again, watch out for the ploy status. Rune also gives you the empathy status, so that is helpful. He also debuffs the enemy, and then Nidhogger does give you the Dosage status and also debuffs the enemy with the sabotage status, so that is again helpful for the stat swing. And Duo Winter Earlier is really underrated, and he's an amazing support unit and a frontliner with good support. So he can basically give you the Divinely Inspiring status, which can help you in the enemy phasing. And when it comes to mixed phasing, the extra action out of Duo Hathrin is going to be helpful. Her Divine Nectar also gives you the healing, and then Spring Plumeria does have the Frozen status, which is really helpful because at max investment, female Byleth does actually have usable defense for it and also the speed, and Duo Lucina and her detect skill is also helpful, and so is her Future Witness, even if you're just trying to go in the player phase. And if you're mainly trying to run a tank build with her, then it is going to be taking a lot more support because tanking is hard with these kinds of older units. It's a lot easier to have a mixed phase build or a pure player phase focus build, but for a tanking specialized build, you're going to be needing the flat damage reduction support out of Seteth or Rhea, also her Miracle. You also are going to be appreciating the debuffs and the cleansing of Attune Micaiah. Pyre Tibarn does give you the Frozen status, but unlike Plumeria, it is a lot more susceptible to getting cleansed because it's not a middle of the turn debuff. And then Halloween Asker can also give you the special cooldown support and also the healing with his weapon. You can get a lot of the fodder for female Byleth in the Divine Codes with Desert Malice because she is going to be giving you Gust and Spiked Wall. You're not really able to get the attack speed prime for at the same time because we do not have the easy prerequisite for it. And if you're given a choice, I would certainly pick Gust and Spiked Wall over getting the prime skill honestly right now. And you are able to get attack speed finish 4 and pledge out of a rearmed unit like Soth. So that way you're able to have the special charges status, the visible buffs, and the special charges does have good synergy with her tempo. She already has full null follow up, and then she gets the true damage and some flat damage reduction out of the Spiked Wall skill. And keep in mind that while Lagu's Loyalty is an option, it doesn't really work with Gust and her Creator Sword because she does have the slaying, and Lagu's Loyalty and Lagu's Friend both do need an offensive special that is 3 or higher cooldown. Gust is certainly going to be her best special because it does scale off the speed and gives you the unpierceable damage reduction, and with Emblem Marth Ring and with Time Belt's Echo, you're basically able to trigger twice in a single round of combat if you're able to double, and this is going to be needing the fodder out of a certain Blue Lion student who is going to be giving you the Endless Tempest for the extra movement and also the Excel skill along with Gust. And he's going to be really useful if you just duplicate his fodder using Attuned Temera and also get Time Pulse Echo at the same time. This is certainly going to be a bit more player phase oriented build, so that's why Attack Speed XL does double down on the survivability with its flat damage reduction, and this way you have more chances of survival when taking the counterattack of the enemy, and then you can just double them because you are fast, and you also have null follow-up in your weapon. And then you can also try and go for the max investment tank build. Now, I wouldn't really run this myself because, again, as I said, it's really hard to tank comparatively to, just go out there in the mixed phase or even in the player phase. So that's why it is going to be needing Emblem Ike Rank for the unpierceable damage reduction. Spiked Wall is absolutely necessary, and so is Distant Bonus Doubler because it can free you up from running Distant Counter, Attune skill, or the Sacred Seal, and it also gives you these stats. And then you can run Null Counter Disrupt Echo, which is one of the better things that an infantry tank has got over the tanks of the other movement type. And you're going to be needing to stat stack quite a lot with someone like Icthenir, and you can also get the flat damage reduction support out of Sethith. You can also run her max mixed phase build, and this is certainly the build I would run if I had to invest in her to absolute max potential, because this way you're able to make use of her strengths a lot better. Speed Taker is absolutely amazing because of its great talent and also the true damage, which is going to be scaling based on 20% of her speed instead of 15% like the Spiked Wall skill. And then Brutal Tempest also compresses the mixed phase potential with the Canto and the extra movement, and this is going to be appreciating having any kind of allies that can increase your damage output or at least give you more actions like Divine Nectar. Resplendent Lyon is a book 2 unit, and he's there as a red infantry mage. Unfortunately, he never really had too good of a state even when he came out or when he got his refine. It was always a bit underpowered. I mean, Valentine's Lyon did a lot of war crimes, but still. So his preferred weapon does have the Raven Tome effect, which gives you the weapon strangle advantage against the colorless units, but it is not the biggest thing, and it just gives you measly -4 attack and resistance debuff and has got Quick Riposte 3. It's not even guaranteed follow-up attack, because Quick Riposte is guaranteed follow-up attack only in the enemy phase. So, this weapon is absolutely cooked in the modern age. You are just much better off running the Crab Tome that Jetta comes with, because that's going to be a much better weapon. And of course, Arcane Blood Gang is there in the Divine Codes, which does give you the flat damage reduction, the true damage, the Preempt Pulse, Null Guard, and also the modern +14 stats. So it's going to be a lot better as an option and certainly his best weapon. But the Crab Tome is also not that bad if you're not able to get Blood Gang, because it does a pretty ridiculous damage output with its true damage, which is going to be max 25. And if you run him with the good support, then he's able to do a lot of damage even with his attack stats. And unfortunately, it is not going to be giving you as many stats, as it only gives you Omni +5. And the +6 attack and guaranteed follow-up attack is not the most insane compared to Devoted Cup Plus, but still, again, the damage output isn't really all that bad for a weapon from a Grail unit. So if you're trying to nuke a bit hard with him with the Crab Tome or even the true damage out of Arcane Blood Gang, then you're going to be needing some good Lindring support units like Winter Cordelia or, Brattle Catria, who can give you Dual Strike or Triangle Attack. And then Ymir can be an option to get the Miracle. Hathor also gives you the debuffs, which is good. And Lyon certainly needs some help when it comes to his damage output. The Crux effect of Young Xander is actually pretty nice, because Blood Gang doesn't really give you the guaranteed follow-up attack, so the debuffs and the Crux effect of a free Grail unit is going to be helpful at the bare minimum, but there are going to be better options here. And if you're going to be tanking using his stats, then it is going to be taking a lot of support, because he lacks the stats, so you're going to be needing the support for that. He also lacks the flat damage reduction. Arcane Blood Gang does have a bit of flat damage reduction, but it's nothing really too insane for an older unit like him, who already doesn't have the highest raw bulk or the best of stat allocation. So that's why Seteth is going to be helpful, and also Duorea. Erica does give him the empathy, which he certainly needs. Lyon's Resplendent does remind us of the fact that how, unfairly allocated his stat spread is, because just look at Jetta, who has come out. I mean, obviously he is a unit with the modern stat spread, but having 10 extra defense is quite a lot. Lyon does have a bit extra HP, but still, I mean, Jetta is going to be taking a bit less investment in terms of Dragon Flowers, and there is also his daughter Marla. So if you're trying to go for some kind of attack resistance heavy mage, then she is also an option, but she doesn't have as much defense as her father or Lyon. You can get Arcane Blood Gang out of the Divine Codes, and also you get the Crystalline Water skill and Speed Resistance Discord at the same time. The Discord skill is not the best with its version, because he does appreciate the attack debuff a bit more, but still it does come along with it, and you can also give him Flare from Brave Sorin. There is also the Ploy skill of Rearmed Sonia, which he does enjoy, so this is a build that you can do with the free-to-play fodder that we have got, but he is going to be appreciating a bit more of an expensive build and an upgrade with Attack Resistance Discord, because it does give him better debuffs, and it also comes with Athos, who gives you the Pulse of Ploy and Frost Moon. So Frost Moon is going to be giving you the full piercing, and the Crab Tome is going to be giving you 25 true damage per hit. You stack up even more true damage with the Discord skill that can scale the true damage off of his resistance, and then you also provide the debuff support to your allies. Pulse of Ploy can just help you pre-charge the Frost Moon, and then Tempo Echo does make sure that you get the Null Guard and also the piercing on every single hit. And as I said, this is going to be needing some support, because you can get the quad attack with the help of Dual Strike or Triangle Attack. You can also go with a full tank build. He doesn't have the raw bulk of Jetta, but still, this is one of the options if you want to go the enemy phase route. So you can give him Lagoose Friend 4, and that way you're able to have the flat damage reduction and the full piercing on your special triggers. We don't really need Frost Moon, because Glacis does have 10% better scaling, and we already get the piercing out of Lagoose Friend. So this way you're able to stack up the unpierceable damage reduction, and Close Bonus Doubler is our best bet when it comes to these kinds of range units getting the close counter, because for some reason they haven't really made that Sacred Seal or even an Attune skill, and you can try and take advantage of his infantry movement type. So Null Counter Disrupt Echo is something you can run, and at absolute max investment, I would say that Attack Res Havoc is something I prefer more to the Discord skill, because while it does not give you as many debuffs in the combat, it does debuff the opponent for the Schism status, and it also gives him the Canto, depending on if there are enemies with a Sabotage status on them and if there are 2 or more. So the compression of having the Canto on a Lindring nuke is really good for the positioning, and it's certainly a really good option that you can try and get from Ancient Goto, and you also get Pulse of Ploy at the same time. So basically you try and pre-charge your special and then hit really hard, and this is a bit of the similar game plan as the Crab Tome build, but you're just going to be having a bit more stats with Arcane Blood Gang compared to the true damage that the Crab Tome gives you. The Havoc skill also gives you true damage on every single hit, and that is going to be scaling off 20% of his resistance compared to the 15% scaling of the Discord skill, and that's also one of the reasons why I think this is the endgame build for him. I hope you enjoyed this new format, and I'm going to be covering all of the other Resplendent heroes who I've not really covered in a review video, so be assured that I'm not going to be skipping them whatsoever. You can click the link on his screen right now to check out my breakdown of the new double mythic banner that we have got, and make sure to subscribe and hit the notification bell, because YouTube sub boxes are about as functional as having Quick Repose 3 in your weapon refine. So with that, let's see you guys next time. Thank you so much for watching and have a great day.